Welcome, everyone. Happy Wednesday, and hope you're all having a great start to your morning. And congratulations, you've made it through another year. Um, Today we're really just going to talk about using this time to finish strong and start 2026 with confidence. So, thank you for joining my webinar today because I'm definitely going to be sharing tips on how and why the last 4 weeks of Q4 is the most strategic time to reflect back on 2025 and really taking what's worked this past year and refining those processes and hitting the reset button into the new year with a plan. And before I jump in, I would like to just quickly introduce myself for those of you who don't know who I am. My name is Lisa Mohammed. I'm a business and sales coach. And I've actually got 13 years of financial advising background myself. So I was an independent financial advisor for many, many years. And the reason I bring that up is because I get it. I understand the business. I've worked as an advisor, I've built my own business from the ground up. A lot of you might know my story already. And, I understand where the struggles are, where the challenges are, but I also see where there's a lot of opportunity. My business is Sales Reveler, and I'm also working with another coaching company called The Personal Coach, which I will share a little bit with in the next couple of slides. So this is our team here at The Personal Coach. There are 15 of us on the team, actually close to 18, I believe. And the company's been around for 25 years. And the point to this is that we have all come from the financial industry in one shape or way. And most of us have been financial advisors or in the very similar roles. And each one of us brings a specialty to the business. So we've got 15 different areas that we coach advisors on. As an advisor, you know that it's not just a 9 to 5. This is a business. And I often tell my clients, this is a lifestyle, right? You've chosen a lifestyle. This is not like an employee type of job. This is very entrepreneurial, very business oriented, and there's a lot of moving pieces. And so we've got the support there. So that's the team. And part of our mission and what we bring to the table is that we provide customized business coaching and programs for financial advisors and their teams to drive results and realize confidence, focus, and freedom. So very customized and personalized coaching that we do offer depending on your needs are. I mentioned the 15 areas that we coach to, and just to quickly give you an idea and a snapshot of what it is that we coach to, these are the 15 different areas that we've identified really as being important in the business. So I would love to hear, for those of you that are on the chat, where are you guys tuning in from? I am from Regina, Saskatchewan, originally from Winnipeg, Manitoba, born and raised. So I'm in the middle of the country. And so for those of you, I don't know if you guys watch football, but we recently just won the Canadian Grey Cup. So to give you an idea of where I am, that is me. So I'd love to hear where you guys are all tuning in from, and what parts of the country that I'm reaching. So jumping into our topic today, we've got Connor in Hamilton, Ontario. Awesome. This is why I love virtual, is that we are reaching people all over the country, all over North America, and maybe somewhere else as well. But the reason I decided to do this presentation, if you will, is that this is often a time that comes with a lot of challenges. And part of this webinar is personal to me. And I want to motivate you, get you in the right headspace. I remember being, 26 years old, my first year as a financial advisor. I was broke this time of the year, and I had barely scraped by for rent. I couldn't even afford Christmas presents. And frankly, I was really embarrassed, right? I'm supposed to be this financial advisor. I'm supposed to know about money, understand all about money, and actually have money. And when I looked at my January, it just looked depressing, right? There was no real business opportunities that were in my pipeline. I was this close, you guys, to giving up my career in the industry. And I remember the worst of it for me was feeling like I had all this downtime, right? It was quiet. Nobody was walking in my door. People were telling me that they didn't want to meet right now. And I remember feeling like I was just bothering people in this Christmas season. I mean, like, who wants to talk about finances this time of the year, right? I just didn't have a plan. And as a final act to save my career, I called my mentor in tears, right? And I sat, like, she offered to sit down with me, and together we strategized. And she helped me a lot. I took her advice quite seriously because she was one of the top producing advisors in our city. And I mean, who wouldn't want to follow her recommendations, right? I wanted the lifestyle that she wanted. All right. Hey, we've got some more Ontario people in the house. Niagara, Toronto. Nice. Looks like we've got all the Easterners out here. Thanks for joining in. So, really, today, what I wanted to do is just share some tips. And my goal always is to have you walk away with one or two gold nuggets that you can implement into your business starting now. And that could be the thing that completely sets you up for just a slam dunk 2026. And we'll look at some of the most common challenges advisors face this time of the year, so you don't feel like you're the only one. And I'm going to go over the strategies on how to overcome those challenges. And finally, what good is this gold mine of knowledge if you don't implement it? And I'll walk you through ways on how you can do that for your own business. We're going to talk about reflecting back, right? So discovering what worked. I'm a big believer in looking back into 2025, identify patterns and things that really shaped your results, good or bad. And then we're going to look at ways to refine that activity that you've been doing. And then finally, hitting that reset button. And just really, it's about starting over and starting fresh. Sean, welcome from Winnipeg. That's my hometown. So thanks for joining. All right. So the first thing I want to do is let's call out some of the common challenges that most growing advisors face right now in this time of the year, right? These are challenges I had. And if any of this sounds familiar, I just want to let you know you're not alone. Every single advisor in the business hits this phase at one point or another. The difference between top producers and the average advisors, or the ones that fail, is how they respond to these challenges, right? And let's be honest, the last few months of the year can really feel like a grind for the newer advisors. You've been pushing hard all year and suddenly momentum slows down, right? Maybe clients are distracted. Your leads have gone quiet and you start wondering, what happened to all that activity that I was doing earlier this year? Where did everybody go? Anybody else feeling this right now? Don't tell me I was the only one. And I'm sure that this is something that I've talked to a lot of my clients about, and definitely this is something that is a common feeling. So don't feel embarrassed about it. And the leads that were warm a few months ago, maybe they seem that they've disappeared, but not because they're not interested, but because their attention has shifted. We're in Christmas season, holiday mode, right? It's the time that people are naturally going to be busy with other things, and financial decisions do take a back seat. But here's the thing. December doesn't have to be when your leads vanish. It's actually when your follow-up system gets tested. And that's where most advisors fall off, because this is where the opportunity, like, it's a hidden opportunity. And oftentimes, I don't know if you found this, but when activity drops, if I get slower in my business, my confidence level also drops. So it's important to stay busy with the right activities. Maybe you're spending more time on admin or year-end reviews, or telling yourself, you'll get back to prospecting in January. I'll call those people in January. I'll worry about that in the new year. But here's the truth, you guys. If you pause your activity now, it takes 6 to 8 weeks to rebuild that momentum. And to me, that's not time you want to waste. So that's why you want to re-engage now and not start later. Tell me in the chat, which one of these challenges hits closest to home for you right now? I'd love to hear where everybody's at right now. Number 4, I just want to point out, this isn't a very easy one to fall into, right? There's too many distractions during this time of the year. The holiday parties have started. There's family events, travel, holidays, very popular. And it's also a time where advisors are rushing to clean up the loose ends, wrap up any admin, compliance, or just catching up on stuff, right? The last bullet point on here, this, you guys, is a very dangerous mindset trap. Just assuming that no one wants to meet right now or talk to you. And I'll dive into this one a little bit deeper in the next couple of slides. So the sales, so here's where, those challenges can really be a setback for you, right? Because if we give in to those challenges and use them as excuses, it will have major effects on your January pipeline. So, yes, it's important that we call them out and we recognize so we can counteract those challenges. Who's been here before? Love to see it in the chat. Anyone have ever felt like they were starting over, or maybe they're feeling overwhelmed or not having a plan, right? Maybe you're stressed and burnt out like I was. And by the end of December, just like I did, you're questioning your entire profession and looking at different career options. By failing to plan, you plan to fail. I know you've all heard that one before, but it's so true. But what if you could turn it all around? What if you can make these last 4 weeks the best time to fill your pipeline? Use this time to plan first quarter of 2026 and just start filling up your calendar, right? What if December was a time that you actually looked forward to and got excited about versus having these feelings? I mean, let's use these last 4 weeks, you guys. Let's ramp up your business and give your best start to the new year. I wanted to touch a little bit on that mindset piece that we talked about, right? I mentioned that, a lot of advisors just assume that people don't want to meet right now. And in this business, it's 80% of your success is going to be your mindset. Think about it. You have total and complete control of 80% of how you build your business. So that could be a double-edged sword, right? So to me, definitely something to get excited about, because that means that you have 80% control of what you do and what your business looks like. But on the other side of that, because your mindset's such a huge piece of this, you can actually internally destroy your success as well, right? So in my coaching, I spend a lot of time on that mindset. And it's really about, are you somebody that has a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset? In my experience, the advisors that have that fixed mindset, or anybody in business, if you have that fixed mindset, your business is not going to grow, right? You're not going to be happy. It's going to reflect in your everyday. But if you're somebody who has that growth mindset and you're willing to learn, and that obviously shows in the fact that you came to this webinar today, that tells me you've got the right mindset. So that's the hardest part, and everything else I'm going to teach you from here is going to be easy stuff. If you expect your business to slow down in December, it will. If you blame the holiday season and use it as an excuse for why your calendar is empty, it's not going to be a surprise that your calendar is empty. And one advisor I worked with, this actually kind of changed my perspective on a lot of things here. So this advisor I worked with, he looked at it this way. He told me, well, if I naturally slow down at work this time of the year, then I have to assume that so do my clients or prospects, right? Everybody slows down then. And he actually told me, when he thought about it, he said that the majority of the people that he was talking to over vacation, so they don't lose it in the new year, right? If your clients are employees, they've got a certain amount of benefits that they can use, and they've got to use it by the end of the year, right? So they're taking that last bit of leftover vacation so they don't lose it. They're taking those doctor's appointments and those medical massage appointments, et cetera, right? So that they're using it up. And a light bulb went off for him. And he said to me, well, what if these people treated their finances the same way? They have the time off. They're in appointment booking mode to clean up medical appointments. So why not make their financial checkup part of a year-end wrap-up for them? Ding, 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 right? And so for him, this was his opportunity. And he ended up, November, December ended up being like the busiest months for him. And then it trickled into his new year. And this is a perfect example. The reason I share it with you guys is that this is a perfect example of an advisor who thought outside the box and turned the negativity of the season into a strategy that worked really well in his business. And it just exploded for him. And so one of those strategies, this leads me into strategy number one that we're going to talk about today, which is reflect. This advisor, he took time to reflect. And in fact, this is such an important step for him that he actually time blocks this in his calendar every year. For you, maybe it's a couple hours, maybe it's half a day, even a full day. Me personally, I actually dedicate a full day. Usually it's a Friday to do this. And I found it's well worth my time. And it's all about time in your business, right? What are you doing in your business to improve it? If you don't look back to what happened, you can't get better. And this is why I tell my clients it's important to track everything, because then you can go back and you can do this activity. I have a million strategies here that you can do that I don't have time to get into right now today, but there are definitely lots of easy ways that you can incorporate AI into this for you and make your life a whole lot easier. I always love using Michael Jordan as my prime examples because he's the GOAT, right? He was obsessive about reviewing his performance, and he used his reflection to grow. So what he would do is he would tape every game that he played, and he would rewatch those replays and rewatch and analyzed. And he looked at what worked, what didn't work, where he hesitated, where he can improve. And then he would use his reflections and adjust his practice routine immediately. So it's all about implementation. Great. You've recognized some of these things that you might need to change or what went well, but it's how are you implementing it now into your business? And that's what's going to make the difference. As advisors, your version of game tape is your activity, your meetings, and your habits that led to those money-making activities, right? And examples of that could be, this activity actually helped me book a meeting, or this is something that actually didn't help me at all. Like there was no point in me doing this, or I really did waste a lot of time doing this thing. Or maybe it's I need to do more of this and less of that. As an example, one of the coaches that I worked with, she recently told me that she looked back. So her goal was really only to work 15 hours a week. And her main source was from coaching. So our equivalent to you guys spending time in front of your clients. And she was working like a lot, and she was getting tired and burnt out. So she took about a day and a half, and she looked back at her Outlook calendar for the year. And she actually, when she figured it out, she realized that she was actually spending up to 22 hours a week on admin. So she had to make some adjustments and figure out who she's delegating stuff to, what she doesn't need to be spending time on, so she can free that time up for herself. I know there was another one of our clients that we worked with that they made just a few small tweaks in their client development process or their sales process, which actually it resulted in a decrease in their closing ratio. And they realized that because of those small tweaks, it's why they were losing business. So they had to go back and readjust it. But none of these people would have realized these things if they didn't take that time to invest into their business, to reflect back on some of the things that maybe they weren't happy about, or just kind of running the numbers, right? So I can go on and on with examples, but I think you get the point. And it's basically learning from your own actions instead of repeating the same mistakes year over year over year. And reviewing their habits, right? It helped them see which habits brought in clients, which weeks they were consistent. Well, why were they consistent in those weeks? Maybe they looked at where their follow-ups had dropped, or which conversions led to business. What were the conversations they were having with people that were leading to them closing the sale, or maybe not closing the sale? Where they lost momentum, right? And there's certain times in the year where naturally your business is going to dip. But again, you use those dips to strategize into the next quarter. And it just really gives you a clear picture of some ways that where you can maybe do more of and less of. And in this workbook that you would have gotten, the sales playbook, honestly, you guys, like, take 2 minutes, like, print it out, jot one thing that you're proud of and one thing that you'll do differently. What worked, what didn't work. And this reflection is actually how I started my Pipeline to Profit sales training workshop, because in here we talk a lot about some of the strategies to just kind of keep that business flowing and keep it level. Strategy number 2 that we're going to talk about is refine. So, what are we doing to refine some of those strategies and activities that we're doing? And some of you might disagree with this strategy number 2 with me here, but I will say it, okay? Wait until January to start new relationships. Now is not the time to go out and start brand new relationships and bring in new clients. And I'll tell you why. The last few weeks of December is really to focus on reconnecting with existing clients, existing relationships that you have with your centers of influences or existing prospects that you have in your pipeline. And mostly I'm talking to the newer advisors here on the webinar. This is the time that you really want to focus on that relationship building. So try to avoid focusing on going out there and getting new clients, because like relationships and trust, it takes time to grow. And this is a great opportunity to use the holiday season to be visible, show up at holiday parties. I know there's a lot of Christmas networking events. It's a great time to meet new people, but try to push those appointments into 2026, unless they're hot and ready, right? And they're ready to close business with you now. Absolutely. But don't make that your main focus, right? What some of the things you want to look at is, taking 2026 and planning ahead. So some things that you can ask yourself, right? What's changing in your life next year? This is a great question to ask prospects in your pipeline or your centers of influence. This can be your accountants, your lawyers. We're going to talk into this a little bit more. A great way to touch point with existing clients or prospects is, hey, just doing a quick check-in. What's changing in your life next year? Are you expecting any career moves, any promotions, or are you changing jobs? What are your retirement plans? Has that changed, right? Do you have any big goals that are coming up? Or maybe you're a business owner, asking them about their business, what their business plans are for the new year. Getting those 2026 reviews and booking those in advance, right? RSP season is coming up quickly upon us, and you don't want to be that advisor that's working like 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. trying to get in those last minute contributions. Let's focus on getting those done in advance, right? Advisors who pre-schedule these planning conversations will really, it'll make your life a lot easier. And if you can book out the first 2 weeks in January, that momentum will just keep building. Another one of our clients, and something I used to do for my business as well, was hosting like a year-end client appreciation day, having them it's kind of like a casual drop-in, right? And having some nice coffee, some teas, some Christmas drinks, hot chocolate, whatever, snacks, things like that, and having it as a very nice holiday open house. This works really well when you have a niche. Oftentimes these people know each other, and it's like a kind of a social event, and it's fun. So those are some activities that you can have in place. And just, again, it's another way to keep that relationship going and deepening that trust. Focusing on, and sorry, this should be year-end reviews, but focusing on year-end reviews. And this is a strategic window for reviewing those year ends. Check in, tie up loose ends with your clients or prospects. Before the new year rush begins, let's take a step back. Let's make sure you're still on the right track, right? This is something that this is how you can position it. And I always say this is a great time to find out what macro value you can add. So what I mean by that is you're not really digging in deep into the micro or the weeds of their financial plan. You're really looking for something a little bit more generalized, because again, this is your way of having that big picture value added, because the goal is just to keep that relationship building going, and deepening that trust and getting in front of these people and really proving why you're different than some of these other advisors. Recapping what's happened in this year, we all know that we had there was a change in president earlier this year. The economy was very unpredictable. Things are still very unpredictable. It's been a lot of market turmoil, a lot of drama, a lot of noise. Rates have been changing like crazy. A lot of talk around the tariffs, right? You guys all know this. So, what does this mean for your client's long term plan? So, really getting in front of them and getting in front of any short term noise and giving them a call, picking the phone up and going, hey, I know we went through a lot this year. Let come in, or maybe we can do this on the phone. But I just want to really recap what's happened and what that means for you. Trust me, you guys, clients will appreciate that. And reflect with your clients. It's a great year for reflection and getting in front of them again and asking, like, what's different about your life or your priorities now versus when we last met. I know a lot of you are doing those yearly check-ins, or you should be meeting at least yearly with most of your clients. So again, great way to talk about, hey, what's changed over the past year? What would you like your money to do for you in 2026? That's a good one. And help them declutter. Offer to consolidate whatever scattered accounts they have. Oftentimes, a lot of people, they have investments sitting here, there, and everywhere, right? So offer to be that person to, hey, let's make this easy for everybody, bring everything with me. Update their beneficiaries. That's an important one, right? Taking a look at who's currently their beneficiary, or maybe executors or power of attorneys, and asking them if this is still appropriate. This is something that's a step I've seen missed a lot, but it's a really great excuse again. And streamline any insurance coverage. So if they have insurance elsewhere, again, this is a great time to take that and consolidate it, just like you would for investments. So I'm going to stop here for a quick sec. Does anybody have any questions or comments that they'd like to drop in the chat for me? All right, well, I'm going to keep going then. And in fact, these things that I just talked to you guys about, it's actually so important that it's actually something that I spend a whole week on, talking to my advisors in my sales training program, Pipeline to Profit. And I see one of my students is on here right now, so he can attest to that. But it's really about being intentional and presenting that strong value of, when you're calling your clients or your prospects, why should they meet with you? What is the benefit for them, right? Some things that you can talk to them about: tax efficiency, year-end contributions, right? Getting those RSP tax-free account top-ups, any RESP top-ups, charitable donations, right, as a tax strategy. We talked about investment portfolio review. So making sure that their investments are still aligned with your goals, your time horizon, risk tolerance, especially after some of these big market shifts we've seen this year. And frame the conversation as like a peace of mind, right? Just come in, you'll have a peace of mind before the holidays start. You can enjoy your Christmas. You can have people get emotional around money and when they're around family, especially when alcohol starts flowing, because that's happening during Christmas. So it's really about, let's give you that peace of mind before you go into the holiday season and meet with your own clients or meet with your family and like sell it. You actually have something to cheers to and celebrate going into the new year's, right? Cash flow debt strategy for those who do that for their clients, and really reviewing their budgets, analyzing their emergency funds. And you can definitely frame this as like a financial tune-up, right? And just helping clients identify ways that they can free up cash flow to have more money to invest or for insurance planning for Q1. And always keep in mind, you guys, like, just like I don't like going to the dentist, like who likes going to the dentist? Most people are reluctant to book a meeting unless there's a clear purpose tied to coming in. So if my dentist called me and he's like, hey, do you want a brighter smile for Christmas? And I'm like, yes, right? I'm going to go see him. So that's the value added for me. So I hope that makes sense there for everybody. And that leads me to the next topic here. So I talked a lot about, or I briefly touched on, leveraging your existing network. This is a good time to connect socially. Make it fun for yourself as well. Go out for lunches or coffee dates with those centers of influences or prospects that you've been trying to get the whole year, or maybe high net worth clients that you want to, maybe you see more opportunity for business or referrals. This is actually one of the most underutilized growth opportunities I've seen new advisors. Top producing advisors take this time to really I like the like the term in the financial industry is wine and dine, right? But really, it's what are you doing? You're adding that extra value. You're establishing yourself as their trusted advisor or person in their life. You're deepening that relationship. And a lot of new advisors think that they've run out of people to talk to, when in reality, they've just scratched the surface of their existing network's potential. Set up casual coffee virtual chats. You don't have to go meet them in person. You can just book your calendar with virtual chats. Meet your centers of influences. So this is where you would talk to your accountants or lawyers or mortgage brokers. A lot of them have a lot of downtime this time of the year as well, right? And this is a great time for you to be connecting with these types of people, seeing if there's ways that you can work collaboratively. And also, again, it's about building those relationships, making yourself known, letting them know who the people that you work with are, and getting to know them and their business so you guys can become a referral source for each other. And keep it simple. Pick a system for you that's simple. So make a list. And this is in the workbook as well, right? Pick 3 centers of influences that you want to deepen relationships with. Make it a goal to touch base with everyone before December 15th. And then schedule like a follow-up coffee chat or maybe a call in January. And do the same thing with clients that you want to reconnect with, right? Things you want to look out for are active clients, so clients that you're actively doing plans for, insurance deals for. Maybe these are people you haven't talked to in a while, and most importantly, high net worth clients. And again, maybe there's no business opportunity immediately, but this is time well spent in investing into these types of people, because again, they're all about, they've got a lot of money, you guys, right? So they need to know they can trust you. They need to know that they've got a good relationship with you. So make yourself their go-to person. Send a gratitude note. Lots of advisors I work with send Christmas cards, handwritten Christmas cards. And again, you're not sending out like 200. It's a select few people. Maybe it's a list of 20 or 30. For those of you who are in the growth stage, it's probably a shorter list, but get in that habit, right? And again, it's a time blocking thing for you to put into your calendar, to time block that I'm going to sit down, I'm going to write 10 Christmas cards today and send them out. And people appreciate, especially this day and age, people really do appreciate that handwritten. And that's what's going to differentiate you from ChatGPT or the do-it-yourself investors or the banks. No one's doing that at the banks. I could tell you that. Reach out to your top 10 clients with a short check-in email, right? Just a short, hey, happy holidays. How are you going to spend the holidays this year? By the way, I'd love to have you in for a quick year-end review or a quick checkup, or let's talk about some tax saving strategies that we can implement now. Or a lot of my clients are coming in to see me in the next couple of weeks, and I want to get you in before I get booked up. These are some of the things that we're talking about, and just wanted to see if you would benefit from any of those, right? And then again, booking your Q1 review meetings early in January. So making that a goal as well. And then we get to the next step or the next strategy, which is now refining. And this is often a step that I see missed because advisors, they don't know, or they don't, they don't know maybe that this is something that they do need to be doing. And that's refining their sales and prospecting game. And this is where a lot of advisors see a missed opportunity. What some of those activities could look like for you is going back to your last 90 days and doing an audit on it. So again, I hope that each and every one of you are filling your calendars, or at least something I teach my advisors I work with is any activity you're doing, whether it's a client meeting or just a compliance fix, put it in your calendar, because this is how you keep track of things, right? So you can go back to the last 90 days and go, hey, how many leads did I did I connect with weekly? How many of these actually, how many did these actually turn into a conversation? How many conversations did I have with people? How many meetings were booked and kept? And this will help you identify what your conversion ratio is. How many of your outreaches result in meetings, which resulted in closed business? And then from there, you can build the prospecting system and have three. This is something, again, that I go through in my pipeline to profit. Have three non negotiable activities that you do every week. So, for example, I have an advisor who's kind of got a very nice, simple plan for himself. And he goes, Lisa, my goal is to make 10 new touches a week. So that would be like 10 outreaches to people he's never talked to before. Have 3 follow-ups. So having it that he's following up with people he's already talked to or presented a plan to. And then having 2 center of influence reach out. So he's every week he's touching base with a referral source, like one of the lawyers he works with or accountants that he works with. And why this system works so well for him is because it keeps him consistent, and consistency will beat out volume any day. So you just keep doing this week over week over week over week, and then you're not feeling overwhelmed. Reviewing phone call or email scripts and conversations is really important. And again, I see one of my students on Pipeline Profit on here, and this, you can ask him. We spend a whole entire week on just this. Are you calling with a purpose or benefit to that person? Are you clearly identifying their pain points? And that can easily be something that you look at, because it's, are you closing these clients or not? Are you getting this meeting or not? And if the answer is no, it's because you haven't presented the value or you haven't gotten to their pain point. And are you confidently asking for the next steps? Do your prospects or do your clients know what the next step is with you? Do you even know what the next step is with this person, right? So it's really taking a look back and identifying what the most common objections that you got this year are, and working on scripting to overcome them. And there's a whole entire framework just on objections. And maybe it's something in your client process, just like that example I used with that advisor who tweaked some things in his sales process that resulted in him not in his closing ratio going down, right? So maybe it's something that you're doing in your client process that's missing, or maybe not resonating with people, or maybe it's something that's worked so well, right? Now you can identify this and officially make it part of your process and make sure that other people on your team are aware of this. So that's definitely something worth going through. So to spend some time to really invest in the internal workings of your business, that you come out stronger and have a better conversation and sales process in 2026. I was actually just talking to one of my team members this morning about that. And I said, you'll be really proud of me. I'm going to go out and buy like this big calendar that I can write on for 2026. And I'm going to take just a couple hours and literally plan out my entire year. Like, when are the busiest times for me? When are most of my clients going on holidays or vacation? When is an actually slow time for me in my business? What am I going to do there? Even these webinars, how am I planning out my webinars? What are the themes? And this is something that you guys can implement as well into your business. And so if anybody has anything that works for them, feel free to throw it into the chat. And now we talk about, okay, let's talk about, we reflected, we refined, and now we're going to look at, okay, what are we going to do to reset? Okay. And some things that you can do is, again, how am I going to implement these things that I identified in my business that work or didn't work, and set some goals as you head into the new year with a strategy. It was great to have goals, but then what's your strategy to get those goals done? How are you going to accomplish those goals? Some of the things that my top producing advisors that I work with, they do, and something that I've started doing after I was broke at 26, and I'm like, no, I need money. You want to look at what your income is going to be in the new year. So for us and for them and for me, it's okay, what do I want my income to look like in 2026? And it's not about being selfish, but at the end of the day, you still have bills to pay and you still have your own goals, right? And let's face it, we didn't get into this business just to be average. So taking a look, hey, what do I want my income to be in 2026, and break it into manageable numbers. So for example, one of the activities I get my advisors to do, and this is something that I do as well, is let's say they say their goal is, okay, I want to make $150,000 in new revenue this year. So now we identify, okay, what is their average, what did their average client need to bring in? So we're looking at maybe $3,000 from each client in revenue. So that would mean that they would need 50 new clients in the next year to get that goal, which means if you go deeper, that their goal is to close one new client a week. And then we keep working backwards. Okay, so then what does that look like? How many meetings per week does it take to close one client a week? How many calls do you need to make daily to book those number of meetings, etc.? So now you have these numbers in place. It gets easier for you to build out your ideal week and make sure you're consistent with those revenue generating activities, and everything else can work around that, right? I know, especially with the new advisors, you don't have an admin person yet. You're doing the compliance work, the paperwork, all those things. And it's often an excuse to not pick up the phone because there's something else more important. But once you realize that, I need to book this one meeting a week so I can actually make my $150,000 a year, then it becomes a lot easier for you to really focus on prioritizing the calls and the prospecting and the networking activities that you need to do around that. Okay. And in Pipeline to Profit, this is something that we do go through, and I help you create that ideal week so you can avoid that burnout and you can go into each day with a clear plan. I do it for myself too. And also this is a great time to clean up and update your CRM, reviewing your pipeline lists and your trackers, and just cleaning up people who, maybe this is not something I want to deal with, somebody I want to deal with, and just kind of take them off your list for next year. And what are the activities that you want to accomplish in the first 2 weeks of January? So what's your focus for the first 2 weeks of January, and make it a point to book those out. Another thing that has been coming up with a lot of my advisors that I work with lately is content creation. And I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this subject, but I do think it's worth bringing up because there is some compliance issues around this with most of the financial institutions. So definitely check in with your company to make sure this is something you can do. But just because your audience is on vacation, like just because your clients or your leads are on vacation, that doesn't mean they've stopped consuming content. And in fact, this probably means that they're scrolling a lot more. So this is a good time to be active on these platforms. And you can really keep it light, but value packed, right? And your presence in their feed just reminds you that you're consistent, you're committed, you're there. And it builds that trust, right? Make your content fun, make it holiday themed, share little clips of how you're preparing for the holiday season or tips on how you plan to wrap up 2025. There are a ton of ideas where you can create content during this time, and it's not about going viral because we're probably not going to go viral, but really the point is just about staying relevant and visible to your audience. And as we wrap up, some of the just final tips that I want to leave you guys with is, while other advisors tend to hit cruise control around this time of the year, this is your moment to stand out. Most advisors, or I would say the average advisor, will slow down, but this will give you that edge. If you're preparing and you're planning, we got to think competition, you guys. What are most advisors doing? They're slowing down. And this is where you can come in and differentiate yourself and win business from people that have other advisors, for example, right? It's not about hustling harder. I'm all about doing the least amount of things for the most amount of money. And so I definitely don't want to be hustling harder. I've done that. I've been there and I'm over it. It's about being smart and being effective. And while others disappear from their clients' inboxes or phone calls, your presence is going to become 10 times more noticeable. Keep showing up, keep offering value, keep reminding people that you're consistent and committed and that you're providing good resources for them. And use this time again to deepen those client relationships, keep it casual, strengthen those center of influence connections, refining your offer, your follow-up process, content strategy, whatever that looks like. And people might not take action immediately. This is not a business where it's transactional, right? We're relationship based, so it's not going to be immediate. But trust me when I tell you that they're watching you, they're testing you, they're observing you. And when they're back from vacation, if they're taking Christmas vacation or holiday vacation, they will probably be ready to engage with you because you were there. You've been reminding them. You booked them out in January. When they come back from vacation, they know they have a meeting set up with you, right? So who do you want to be? The advisor who went quiet or the one who showed up? One thing before I wrap up that I did not put in this presentation, but I do feel is very important as well, is taking the time for yourself. And taking some time off and resetting for yourself personally. Spend time with your friends and family, sleep in, right? Like watch your favorite Netflix shows, whatever it is, but take the time to recharge yourself because it's not like a 24/7 hustle. It doesn't have to be that way, right? And use this time to block it in your vacation as well. So we talked about, great, we know the strategies. Maybe I know some of the goals that I want, maybe not. That's okay. But again, what good is knowing things if you're not going to implement it? So I encourage you guys to keep the momentum going into the new year, and just getting strategies in place and whatever that looks like for you, right? I'm open for a complimentary follow-up call with anyone who's interested in doing so. I also, like I said, the Advisor's Year in Sales Playbook was sent out to you guys. So I strongly encourage you to print that out, have that on your desk, spend some time on that and fill it out. Definitely follow the personal coach or myself, Lisa Mohammed, on LinkedIn, or I'm also on Instagram. I do share sales tips and business tips. So if you want like some quick 30-second tips, that's your place to get it. And if you enjoyed today's presentation and you're interested in learning more about our one-on-one coaching, or maybe it's that sales training workshop, Pipeline to Profit, I have another cohort that I'm opening up in February. And I'm happy to talk to you about that as well. And for those of you who joined and you are interested in my sales training workshop, I'm offering, especially for you guys, a discount off of my course. So you can get up to $400 off the next cohort if you want to sign up. So on that note, I hope everybody has a great 4 weeks. I can't believe that. 4 weeks left of 2025 in the financial business world. I hope you guys rock it. And I wish you all the best for this Christmas season. Be safe, be happy, stay blessed, and we'll see you guys in the next 4 weeks or in 2026. Take care.